A U.S. Army Apache helicopter flew by Kid Rock's home over the weekend, with the rocker saluting the pilots on board. But the Army suspended the pilots from flight duties while the Army reviewed the circumstances surrounding the mission. But Secretary of War Pete Hegseth has lifted the suspension of the pilots, posting, "Thank you, Kid Rock. U.S. Army pilot suspension lifted. No punishment, no investigation. Carry on, Patriots." I love that. Chris, you were at the Pentagon a long time.
Yeah.
Do things like this really happen?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, sure. And that's why, look.
Pilots will go by a football game and do things like this.
Well, that's it. So when you're doing a crowd in a stadium and those have to be orchestrated and organized. But,
sometimes there's some spontaneous things.
Yeah, sure there is. And look, it's the sound of freedom, man. You got a U.S. Army Apache attack helicopter, really cool helicopter. Kid Rock is a patriotic American. He's on Team America, and he had a thing going on at his event. And
I remember when Kid Rock was really a kid.
Yeah.
President Trump was asked about the Kid Rock incident yesterday. Here's what he had to say.
Well, they probably shouldn't have been doing it. Yes, you're not supposed to be playing games, right? But I'd take a look at it. They like Kid Rock. I like Kid Rock. Maybe they were trying to defend him. I don't know.
Sweetheart?
Yes.
Do you like Kid Rock?
Yes, I actually like Kid Rock. He's great. I met him at the White House when I was working there. And, I don't think it was meant to be of harm, obviously. The Army did take the steps they needed to take, and it's really up to the Secretary of War to make this decision as to proceed with an investigation. I think that the Army pilots were just really excited to see Kid Rock, and he's a cool celebrity.
Adam?
I would like to think that the Secretary of Defense might have more pressing matters to deal with.
Me too.
Than whether or not these guys should be disciplined. So to see him get involved while we're at war was ridiculous. And Kid Rock, we need to separate the patriot from the alleged musician, the ripoff artist. We can love his embrace of the American flag while also rolling our eyes at his ripoff of Sweet Home Alabama and previously ripping off Metallica. Just because he waves a flag doesn't mean we need to like him as a musician.
Wow.
That was big.
He's got a bone to pick. Littman, way I looked at this, I'm still suffering from the dark years under Joe Biden. I was worried that the helicopter was going to do something terrible to an American citizen. It was a little weird that they captured it.
No, yeah, it did seem like there's some backstory that we don't know of, and so I'm sure that Kid Rock got more music streams. He could profit off of it. But this is, I bet, and I wonder if there's some people who are like, watching that video, I want to join, be an Apache helicopter pilot. They should use it in recruiting videos.
Recruitment. One of Pete Hegseth's biggest critics, Arizona Senator Mark Kelly, who's been in his own hot water, one of the seditious six fame, actually agreed with the War Secretary's call.
I would not want to see them punished. I mean, these are patriots that are serving their country. And taking a lot of risks with their own lives.
Rare bipartisanship. This is good.
That's momentary, Schlapp. That's not going to last very long. And quite frankly, for Mark Kelly, in my opinion, he was criticizing the Secretary of War and obviously the president on saying, that they're pushing illegal orders. I'm surprised he didn't say this was like an illegal order that the
Littman, what I think is fascinating in this modern age of politics is that you have the Secretary of War absolving this guy's on X after he probably took a phone call from an aging rocker. I mean, this is just not the way it used to be done.
Yeah, no, you usually don't have a person who is a host of a weekend morning show being the Secretary of Defense. And so Hegseth...
We'll get used to it. A lot more of that's going to be happening.
Probably. But Hegseth is someone who a lot of what he does seems to be for social media. But I think that if you polled most Democrats in Congress, they would say, hey, we need more people who want to join the military. And I'm sure that the deterrent effect has been sent, that you're not going to see more of these flybys in the future.
As Littman is knocking Pete Hegseth for doing what we're doing now, don't you think we should maybe knock Pete Buttigieg because he was the mayor of South Bend, Indiana?
I'm always down for doing that, for not knocking Pete Buttigieg. If they made me listen to Kid Rock in the Army, I'd go AWOL. That'd be it. I'm out.
We should say that Hegseth is not just a morning show host on weekends, but a decorated combat vet and a seasoned combat veteran.
Thank you, Chris.
And a U.S. Army officer, in addition to being a morning show host after being a decorated combat veteran.
Information, truth, is freedom. Is Newsmax. It's real news for real people.